What is up, guys? Welcome back to another Wild Rift video, and today we're going to be taking a look at the brand new patch notes that Riot released today, and they actually already updated Wild Rift today as well. So you already have all these balance changes in your ranked games today. If you noticed, maybe Jhin feels a little bit weaker, if you're abusing him, or Gragas the same. I will be explaining everything right in this video. We'll be going over all these balance changes together, and I will be giving you my opinion on how the meta will shift. I already played today for around 3 hours, so I saw a lot of these changes already, how they pan out. So I think I can give a pretty good opinion here because we played quite a lot of high-low rank games today as well. So yeah, let's start right off the get-go here with these changes. Jhin is the first one. I can already spoil you a little bit. Jhin, Lee Sin, and Gragas got nerfed, which are of course the big three. Alistair I would put as a fourth, who are just really broken in the game. Unfortunately, Alistair not nerfed yet. But yeah, let's check out the Jhin nerf. Now, I have to say, I'm not too big of a fan of this patch, okay? But you will see as this video goes on, I will be critiquing Riot quite a bit here, I would say. But of course, we will keep it civil. The civil genius is back at it again. Now, base stats. Jhin got hit a lot on his base stats, okay? They reduced his starting attack speed, but they gave him more attack speed growth, so you will have a little bit less oomph in your auto attack speed early game. But they specifically state at level 15 it is unchanged. So late game you will still have the same amount of attack speed on Jhin. However, what you won't have the same amount of late game is the attack damage. They will keep him the same level 1, but everything past that you will be gaining less attack damage per level, which will result in around in exactly 19 less attack damage at level 15, which is quite a bit, but it definitely won't be killing him. Well, these changes so far, right? This is a decent late game nerf. He's not going to be one-tapping you anymore as much with his 4th shot that has that guaranteed crit, but I think, and I've seen Jhin today already, I think he is definitely still, well, this doesn't bring him down enough, okay? He's definitely still one of the top tier marksmen. We have some more changes, some more nerfs. We have that third ability, his little trap. When you walk over it, you get slowed. That slow is going down from 45 to 30%, which in my opinion really doesn't matter. I don't think this is an ability that is like, oh man, I can't escape from Jhin because of this 45% slow. I think this won't matter too much. Usually you set it up, you set up your W with it, your second ability, and the 30% slow is still going to be plenty to hit that, okay, and to chase escaping enemies. So, or even to kite as well. So I think this doesn't really matter too much, and unfortunately the last change also doesn't matter too much. They're raising the cooldown of the ultimate by a lot, especially early game, by 15 seconds, which is really a big deal. However, I don't think Jhin in his current state in Wild Rift, I don't think his ultimate is problematic. I think the problematic thing about Jhin is that he can beautifully go Youmuu's into GA or the real soy boys on the Rift. Yeah, hey, if you feel called out, maybe you should throw away that soy milk, my guy. They will go GA first item, and they have that little rune that gives you 10% bonus damage dealt. Crazy. And then whenever you die once, you lose 5%. So as long as they don't die, which they guarantee pretty much by buying GA first item, yeah, you will be absolutely insane. And the only two marksmen that can abuse that currently are Jhin and Misfortune, which is why I think personally that Misfortune is also one of the toppest tier. Every other marksman pretty much has to go for crit. Ezreal has to go for a mana immune. Kaisa, you already saw my build. If you didn't yet, it's on my channel. You have to go for these AP, you have to go for this hybrid build. And yeah, you need those power spikes. So again, just these two are really good at abusing that. And unfortunately, GA is not getting nerfed in this patch either, which is again one of the big critique points from me here to Riot. But it's definitely, it feels a little bit better. Before this patch, Jhin first pick, I was like, okay, game over. Enemies have Jhin. It's gonna be really hard in higher elo, right? If everyone just plays well, these OP picks really make a huge difference. And yeah, it definitely helps a little bit. I've seen him today. I mean, this early 15-second cooldown increase, he's not going to be ulting as much early game and all of that good stuff. He's going to be dealing a little bit less late game, but it still feels very, very strong. Keep in mind, he also gets nerfed because of another change to the armor penetration items, which are getting nerfed as well, which we will see later on in this video. Now, moving on. This is one of the changes I really like. One of the only ones, unfortunately, in this patch. Varus is getting a nice buff. And I feel like, I haven't seen Varus today yet, but I do think he could be really strong. Actually, I saw him once, but he didn't play that well. I feel like Varus could move a little bit, you know. He was really not that strong, but with this change, it seems... Well, it seems like a huge change, right? Okay, let's go over it. Move speed by 5 increase. That is always nice for a ranged marksman without a dash. Gonna help him to kite, gonna help him to chase. It's gonna be just feel really good on him. And then they also hard buffed the second ability, okay? As you guys know, contrary to the PC version, it's not just a passive, it also has an active attached to it, which gives you more magic damage on your auto attacks. And they're basically lowering the cooldown of that by 5 seconds, which is nice. It was a 30-second cooldown, which is really, really high. They're also buffing the duration by a whopping 50%, from 4 seconds to 6. That's gonna hit pretty hard, let me tell you. If you didn't try out Varus yet, if you activate his W, that bonus damage really shows on his auto attacks, okay? And then they also buffed the damage from 3, they pretty much buffed it by 0.5% max health per level, okay? So already, I have to say, this seems pretty cracked out. I'm not sure if it's gonna be enough, I would have to try him. But yeah, definitely hope this is gonna make him a little bit better. He could go for that beautiful on-hit build with that Blade of the Ruined King, with that Hurricane. But yeah, we'll see. I'll have to see how this develops. But I feel like he's still gonna be weaker than your Jhin. He's still gonna be weaker than that Misfortune, than that Draven, and yeah. But we'll have to see. We'll have to see. Definitely a step in the right direction. You can see with a lot of these changes, Riot is very reserved. They don't want to over nerf, they don't want to over buff. And it's okay, you know, you can take it slow. The game just released, it's a beta. You can take it slow, it's completely fine. It makes sense. You don't want to just mix up the meta every 2 weeks when people are still getting used to mobile controls. They're getting used to this new game if they're switching from Arena of Valor or Mobile Legends. So it makes sense. However, on that, with that in regard, okay, we're moving to Ezreal, which just completely throws away this whole statement that I just made. They co-beat that boy right into the trash can, okay? I'm gonna show you why. So, Ezreal, he was really OP last patch, or before, the one before the last patch. But last patch now, the patch we were playing on for the last 2 weeks, he wasn't really a problem. Jhin was the problem. Ezreal was still one of the top 3, I would say, with Misfortune, Draven. You can, a well-played Draven is really insane. But yeah, a well-played Ezreal can be really insane as well. And don't think he was OP. Don't think he was a problem. Well, Riot seems to be a little bit delayed. 200 years worth of balance experience, more like 200 years of brain delay, my guys, okay? Because they should have nerfed this 200 years ago, not right now, man. It's crazy, it's a huge nerf, you'll see. So, he wasn't that OP, and he's getting an absolutely gigantic nerf. Attack speed per stack from the passive going down by 2.5% per stack, which is, I believe, 5 stacks in the end. So that is quick maths, 12.5, right? So 12.5 in total. Wait, hold on. 5 times 2, 5 times 0.5. Yeah, 12.5 in total is going to be gone. So it's like having one less stack. If you're at 4, if you're at 5 now, it's like being at 4 before the patch, okay? So this is definitely a lot, but keep in mind, Ezreal is like a caster marksman. He just throws his Q, and that's what he does, right? With that Trinity, with that Manamune, sometimes Iceborne Gauntlet. Yeah, he doesn't really care about that too much. However, this one, Mystic Shot getting nerfed by 15 late game, which might not seem too much, but it is pretty decent. It's a pretty big nerf. I remember on PC, whenever that thing got nerfed by like 0.5 AD ratio, and I don't know, a 10 base damage, the champ went from god tier to absolutely garbage. Because let's be real, this is 90% of his damage in teamfights. You're gonna throw your ult, you're gonna throw some auto attacks maybe, but you will be shooting that Q a lot. Not 90%, let's say 70. But yeah, so this is pretty big. But now this is just, oh boy, this is crazy, my guys. Arcane Shift cooldown, going from a 19 at level 1 to 25. Ezreal already struggles early game a little bit, okay? He's a mid-game champion. He falls off late game. Wild Rift, not as much. He's still really strong late game, but he definitely falls off a little bit. But my man just got 6 seconds longer cooldown on his E, okay? So you will have to be very careful now, okay? It raises the skill cap a little bit. It's fine. It's fine to do this, right? Because at the end of the day, late game it's just going to be 3 seconds longer cooldown, which is still a lot because that's 3 more Mystic shots you have to shoot to have the E again, which is honestly a very long time. However, keep in mind you will have a lot of cooldown reduction, which will reduce that. And also, it's fine to make his early game like on PC where he's not that strong and you really have to, because he's just so powerful and safe in the mid game, where you have to be very careful with your E usage. However, it's not fine in the context of Jhin existing, you know, and Jhin getting less nerf than this. Jhin nerf is a smaller nerf than this, okay? So yeah, it's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy. Now, I definitely think Ezreal will still be playable, but again, he's already not played too often. People just go Jhin, people just go Misfortune, people just go Draven. Kaisa is a good one as well. He's a very strong late game champion. And yeah, I think Ezreal will just be overshadowed by all of these. Moving on to Akali here. Now this is of course my absolute main. I already tried her out today. If I made the video before I played her today, I would have called this absolutely crazy, absolutely mental crazy, okay? Insane, okay? Huge buff, I would have called it, but after trying it, it's not as big as it seems on paper, okay? Same again for the Jhin Nerf. It's not as big as it seems on paper, okay? So maybe the Ezreal Nerf isn't as big either. But yeah, Akali Buff. Base stats, armor going from 30 to 35. This is really, really nice for those mid lane matchups of Yasuo and Zed. This is really nice if you go Akali top. I feel like this armor buff is especially good for Akali top, because top lane you will be oftentimes laning against attack damage based champions. Meanwhile in the mid lane you will be against Ahri, you will be against Orianna, where it really doesn't help at all. They will still poke you out very hard. But if you're laning against a Zed, if you're laning against Yasuo, this really helps a lot, and this might just skew those matchups in your favor. I feel like the Zed matchup is a little bit hard. The Yasuo matchup was already in your favor, in my opinion, but maybe I just didn't meet a good Yasuo or a good enough Yasuo so far. But yeah, that is really nice. Then, this seemed really crazy, and it is honestly pretty crazy. Assassin's Mark passive, okay? So whenever she procs that passive, where she gets that enhanced bonus damage on the auto attack, she also gets that move speed. It's going from 40% to 50% move speed, guys, which is mind-blowing at first, you might think. It is not that big of a deal, but it definitely helps you in a lot of these matchups where they can slow you, like that Zed with the E, like that Gragas with that Q. You can really catch up to them during the laning phase and get out some more poke, which is really insane, which really just shifts a lot of the power dynamic towards Akali here in the laning phase. It's also pretty good in team fights late game, but not as big of a factor there. Now, we're not done here. She actually got a huge buff. This is actually going to be the biggest one. But let's take a look at the second ability first. The Shroud, of course, they're also raising the move speed by 5% at each level of it. So that's going to be sick, because with this together, you're going to be a pretty fast girl here. Cooldown going also down by 2 seconds, which is nice. Not going to change too much, but it is nice. If the team fight is a little bit longer, you might be able to get it off twice now, so that's pretty good. In situations where you couldn't before. Now this is the biggest one, okay? This is the boogeyman in the room. This is a really, really good one. It feels so good to play now. I love it. I feel like she needed it. I feel like she needed that extra oomph a little bit, because this is specifically a laning buff, in my opinion, with this range increase, okay? It's also nice to catch out people late game, but early mid game buff here missile range from the shuriken flip from her third ability, going from 7 to 7.5. So you have a little bit more range, okay? So oftentimes you would be slightly out of range to finish someone off, to jump on them, to follow them up. Yeah, you won't be anymore. So this feels really, really amazing. Also, you might be able to snipe people in the lane more and just jump on them and follow up with that auto attack Q, run away if they feel frisky. You know, if the enemy's feeling frisky and wants to trade back, you run back in with that Q proc, with that passive again, and you know, you're looking at around 60% health lost on most enemy squishy mid laners. So that's really good. You can definitely do much more in these ranged matchups as well now with Ahri, with Orianna. Especially Orianna is the big one. She's really strong right now, and she just completely blows you out, okay? So, very, very nice here, okay? Moving on to Evelynn. Evelynn actually was one of the most useless champions, okay? Wait, let me just backtrack real quick. I think Akali is in a really good spot now. I tried her today. It's much easier now to carry, so I think she is one of the top tier top lane. If you get a good matchup, you know, if you get a good melee matchup like that Nasus or that Darius or something, you can really outplay them if you dodge their abilities and just keep dancing in and out with your passive. And mid lane, she's a lot easier to work with now, and you still have to play her really ridiculously well to perform as well as a Gragas or an Orianna, but if you can, you can really take over games. So I think this is a good buff. Moving on to Evelynn. I only saw one Evelynn today, and she did amazingly well, and this buff seems pretty crazy. However, I think she still has a lot of the same issues. Her issues were that she just doesn't have a lot of early game potential. She needs to be level 5 to get her invisibility, to get her ultimate, where she can really start ganking, and she's not that strong early game. If you invade her, she's not going to have time to put that charm onto you to proc the charm, right? To proc the actual CC of it. So if a Lee Sin just invades her, he's just going to blow her out. So she still has those issues. However, this is a really, really nice buff, so I think she's playable now at least. She might be like a B tier jungler maybe slightly higher, because I mean that man against me, he went like 12-0. He convinced me today, okay? Hate Spike, just a Q getting buffed here. Range going from 5 to 6.5. That is a huge jump. You have more range now than the circle around you that reveals you, okay? So you can charm them while you're out of vision range, which is mind-blowing. That's absolutely mind-blowing, okay? So that's a really big buff. And the AP ratio also got buffed, and keep in mind you use that ability twice every time, so this is a pretty nice AP ratio buff, 10%, but because you use it twice, it's like a 20% buff, so she really bursts a lot now. I struggled really with that, a lot with that Evelynn today, so I don't know, but I only saw one. So we can't really conclude yet, but I definitely think if you're a fan of Evelynn, if you have that, if you're a fellow Coomer and you fell for the bait, you know, you bought that KDA skin, I don't blame you, bro. I don't blame you. It really does look good. So you know, if you want to try out your waifu again, worth. Okay, just try her out. I think you can do pretty well now on this current patch. Now, Amumu actually getting nerf. This is a very good nerf. This is a really, really good nerf. Because Amumu shouldn't be strong early game. Amumu should be the little cucklord, okay? He gets bullied at school. That's why he's crying all day. He doesn't have friends. He shouldn't have friends in the Rift either, early game. Okay? You should bully him. That's his whole persona. It fits the lore, right? So thank you for nerfing him. It was about time. Yeah, they're nerfing him a lot early game. The despair damage from the second ability, the base damage is going down by 10 at level 1, which is insane. Vex, I already talked to Vex about this, which is a very good jungle player, and he said it costs him 6 seconds on the first clear, which sounds like a lot, you know, 6 seconds is a lot, so that's really good, because as I said, it should be a weak early game hero, champion, but very strong late game with that ultimate, right? And again, very good nerf here on that ultimate, stun duration going down from 2 to 1.5 at level 1, but it goes to 1.75 and 2.0 the more points you put in. So late game you still have that crazy teamfight potential with Amumu, but early game you will be put in your place, okay? Hey, let me tell you, Olaf already bullies this little kid hard, okay? He takes Amumu, You know, Amumu is kind of small. He doesn't just dunk the head into the toilet. He dunks the whole body into the toilet, okay? That's why my man is rolled up in toilet paper, okay? And he just flushes it, man. Hey, Olaf might even leave one of his Viking chocolate surprises in there, man. I'm telling you, he bullies him hard, man. I love playing Olaf against Amumu in the jungle. You ignore his ultimate, you just slap him down with your axes with that true damage. And yeah, he can really invade you early game, which can be one of the weaknesses of Olaf maybe, but not really. He's honestly just really busted. I love Olaf. And yeah, this is a good nerf though. This is definitely a good nerf for Amumu, because it was a little bit too strong. 2 seconds stun early game already, level 5. That's gonna hurt his dragon potential a lot, and he had way too much dragon potential. He really has no business being that strong at taking dragons as an Amumu early game. I mean, I've seen Amumu win against Lee Sin, which really seems wrong, right? Especially with how imbalanced Lee Sin is. Now we move on to, that being said, I think Amumu is still gonna be good, because he's really, really strong. He's the highest win rate actually on the last patch, so it makes sense to nerf him. Moving on to Blitzcrank. This is again one of those, pew, Kobe, hey, right into the trash can. My man, you know, he looks like a broken toy, little robot guy. Well, he's definitely a broken toy now. I don't know what they're doing. I think Alistair is the broken little cow there. You should maybe milk him a little bit, replace some of that Chad cow milk with some soy milk, okay? Because honestly, he's too strong. But they decided to nerf Blitzcrank, which honestly, if you nerf Alistair, Blitzcrank becomes the best, and he's really insane. So it makes sense. I'm always a fan of buffing. Just buff the others. You buff Jenna, that was a good buff. I think she's pretty decent now. You buff Lux a little bit, buff her supportive abilities a little bit, and stuff like that. Buff Sona a little bit. And yeah, I think Nami is really fun, should be buffed. But yeah, Blitzcrank getting a huge nerf. I'm sorry, Blitzcrank mains. I'm one of those little kids who also feels when I have to support, I pick Blitzcrank, you know. I mean, I don't know if you've seen my Lux and Janna, it goes 0 and 10, okay? I'm not playing Yasuo, so you know what's wrong. Blitzcrank, I can kind of hard carry. They're going to remove my ability to hard carry, so I'm really sad. Yeah, it's actually a pretty disgustingly big nerf. Definitely the biggest loser this patch. Base mana is going down by 45, which doesn't seem too big, but considering he, you know, his shield scales off the mana, it's definitely also nerfing his passive as well, which already wasn't too great to begin with. Like, the shield in League of Legends is like this big on Blitzcrank. Here it's like a little sliver, I don't know, man. So really wasn't that insane to begin with. They're nerfing that. This also means you'll be able to use less hooks, which means you will be able, you will have to really be precise with your hooks and only use them when it results in a lot of poke damage, when you're sure you will hit it, and all of that good stuff, okay? Not only that, but they're also reducing the base mana regen by a lot. This is almost cutting it in half, my guys. This is -6 to 9, from 15 to 9. It's crazy. And mana regen per level as well. So late game, he will also be running out of mana. It's crazy. This is, keep in mind, on PC, he's balanced by his mana usage. You can't keep throwing out those hooks, you know? You will run out of mana very quickly as a Blitzcrank. So on Wild Rift, they also want to do that, I guess. Which honestly is fine. Makes sense. It works on PC. Why not do it on Wild Rift? Mana Shield, I just feel like this is all too much. I don't think Blitzcrank is that strong. That's why, again, not a fan of this. Mana Shield also raising the cooldown by 30 seconds from 50. I don't know, man. I mean, they're not just throwing him into the garbage can. They're just beating that garbage can up right now. They're like, pooh, you little boy. Hey, I don't know what's going on. This is insane, okay? But hey, there's more. There's more. They're about to throw that garbage can into the dumpster truck, and it's going... You know what I mean? It's crazy, man. I'm making too many jokes. I'm sorry. You guys are probably looking for really insane high elo. At least I'm high elo. Top 50 EU or something, by the way. Just saying. Solo queue. Solo queue only. Moving on. Rocket grab as well. This is the big one. Projectile width is going down by 50%. Okay? You know what I mean? Actually by 33%, excuse me. So, okay? It's going to be much smaller now. So it's going to be much harder to hit that hook. which is the biggest nerf for sure. They're also nerfing the base damage by 20 at each rank, which is also pretty big, but again, his ultimate is not getting nerfed. His ultimate is still going to burst a lot, so that's still going to feel really cool. I think he's still going to be good, but just much more difficult to play, because this is insane. It's going to be much harder to hit the hook, and you will have to be very certain that you will hit it, otherwise you're wasting too much mana now. Also, self-slow duration from 1 to 1.5 seconds. Really? You guys, it's not enough to put him into the garbage truck. You have to cripple his legs as well, right? Oh man, you think Amumu is getting bullied? My man Blitzcrank is getting hard bullied right here. Yeah, GG. Anyway, I think Blitzcrank is not going to be played anymore. People are going to be trying him. They're going to miss the hooks. They're going to feel, a couple days ago I would have hit that. That's weird. It's bugged or something, because people don't really read patch notes, let's be real. So yeah, they will stop playing him. I will still try him. Didn't get to try him yet. I think he's still going to be okay if you're very good, but he's not going to be just that pick where everyone just picks Blitzcrank and everyone can play him, okay? So it's good, but it's a little bit too much. If you nerf Alistar as well, then yeah, sure, but without the Alistar nerf, it just makes him from god tier to absolutely supreme being, not even known to mankind tier, okay? Moving on to Lee Sin, actually received a nerf. These last two nerfs are one of my favorites because it's Lee Sin and Gragas, the two really OP champions that I always complain about, along with Jhin and Alistar. So yeah, I don't think these nerfs are going to be enough, but let's get into them. Safeguard 2. Cooldown going up, I mean, from 15 and scaling -1 per level per rank you put into this ability to 12 seconds to 15 seconds at all ranks. So the issue about this is, early game it's not a nerf, and Lee Sin is early game king. Late game, if you get to late game, Lee Sin becomes not useless, he's still really strong, but he becomes a lot weaker late game. However, I think they're hitting the right spots here, okay? I think what they should be nerfing is his base attack damage as well, because I feel like his auto attacks do too much damage early and late game. I don't think his Q does too much damage, I don't think his ult does too much damage. I think it's honestly the boogeyman is his base attack damage. Yeah, that is the big issue here. But they're moving into a right direction. I agree with this nerf because he's not going to be having as much mobility late game where he can just dash away all the time and just always escape. Because keep in mind, his W doesn't require a ward on Wild Rift, which is honestly really insane. You can just dash around however you want. So yeah, makes sense that they are nerfing the cooldown on this. Honestly, you could have put it to 70 seconds. I don't think anyone would complain. I think it would be a nice little ability that you really have to be sure when to use it. Yeah, that's my opinion. Shield value also getting nerfed by a lot here, so that's really good. Getting nerfed by 20 early game, but then, which will also hurt his level 1 clear. Keep that in mind, he's going to be a little bit lower HP. He doesn't have the healthiest first buff clear in the game. That's why I see a lot of Lee Sins just doing something like Raptors first or something like Wolves first before they do a buff. And yeah, then to a whopping 80 less, okay? 320 to 240 at maximum rank. So that's going to feel really nice fighting against a Lee Sin. Spoiler alert, I already played against Lee Sin today. He's still really insane. They're also nerfing the bonus damage on his magic damage auto attack, you know, after the W, from 55 to 50 level 1, which again hurts his little red buff clear a little bit, but 190 to 125. So that's of course a huge nerf, 65 less. That is going to be really nice. So again, a late game nerf, and they're also nerfing the physical and magic vamp on this ability, which I don't know if you played Lee Sin at all, you know that he literally heals half health with one auto attack late game with that W, okay? With that second portion of his safeguard ability. It is absolutely insane. I think they could have nerfed it from 100% at maximum level to 60%. But they nerfed it to 80%, which is a good start. It's still going to be absolutely insane. So I think Lee Sin is not going anywhere. Still the king of the jungle, but a little bit worse than before. Okay. Moving on to Gragas. Now this guy is absolutely insanely top tier, god tier, crazy. Everyone plays him. Doesn't matter how good you are, you will win the game pretty much in higher ranks because you just have that champion difference. It is just such a strong, safe pick in the mid lane, in the top lane, in the jungle as well. You could even go support. Not a lot of people do it, but you really could. It's not that bad. And yeah, they're nerfing quite a bit here. They're not nerfing the right area again, which again, another critique point to this patch. They're nerfing the base stats health from 690 to 650, so it's going to be a little bit squishier, but 40 is only going to matter in the first like maybe 3 to 5 levels, and then after that it really doesn't matter as much anymore. You will still be pretty tanky with that Roll of Ages build into that Infinity Orb, which also gives a little bit of health, so you will still be incredibly tanky, okay? Barrel Roll AP ratio cut by 10, which is a nice start. Drunken Rage cooldown increased by 0.5 seconds, again a nice start, and ultimate also going down by 10% AP ratio, so you will see a total of 20% less AP ratio damage on his two main AoE abilities that he really destroys these teamfights with, so that's pretty good. He's still gonna deal a lot of single target damage with his Lich Bane empowered, W empowered auto attack, E flash into that. You'll still one-shot everything, but you won't be just AoE dealing as much as before. However, what I think needs to get nerfed about Gragas is that the W damage reduction. It is absolutely insane. You have so much health from your build, despite dealing full damage still, like Rod of Ages into Infinity Orb, it deals so much damage. As soon as that Rod of Ages is stacked up, you will have so much AP and it's crazy damage, but also a lot of health. And with that damage reduction from the second ability, that just scales too well. You can't trade with him. You have to trade only when his W is down, which again is going to be down a little bit more often now, but it's still almost impossible to play against him in lane. He will always be just very easily able to clear the wave as well with his absurd wave clear, which just makes the mid lane very non-interactive, top lane as well. Like, yeah, that's the issue with it. A bad player can just do well with the Gragas, and a great player will do absolutely insane because it's really OP. However, you know, it is what it is. You should try to make the great player do well and the bad player do trash, you know? Which I think the W nerf, I think it's like a 50% damage reduction or something while you're, I don't know, it's a crazy amount, okay? It could be like 20-30%, it would still be, you know, still be very strong. I don't know, I feel like that's something to hit for the next patch. Then we also have some item buffs slash nerfs, okay? First of all, they're nerfing the anti-tank items because they feel like tanks are not tanky enough, which honestly, fair enough, I agree with. I think Jhin just taps, you know. Jhin, I had an argument with a solo queue player today, and he said Jhin is completely useless now, and I told him no, it's not. It's still absolutely insane, and he said 100 damage late game to all tanks doesn't feel OP anymore on Jhin. Well, of course. Jhin is supposed to be absolutely hot garbage against tanks. He's supposed to one-tap squishies and be really bad against tanks. And with his nerfs to the late game damage, with this nerf to this Mortal Reminder and Last Whisper, which are both getting hit by 5% armor penetration, so you will only have 30% instead of 35% as soon as that Mortal Reminder is fully built, you will definitely feel a little bit of a drop in damage, especially because of this, honestly, not even because of the Jhin itself nerf. But that's where you're supposed to be sitting at. Okay, this is what's supposed to happen. You're not supposed to just one-tap the tank. You can still kite him, you know. So it's still a really good pick. But yeah, this is I like this. I like this change because I think marksmen are a little bit too strong, and the only other champion who gets hit by this is honestly only Zed, I would say, which is completely fine. I think Zed is a little bit, I mean, he can take this and still be really strong. Don't worry about it. And yeah, so I agree with this. And now comes the big boogeyman again, okay? This is a huge boogeyman. This is insane. I don't know. It seems like Riot doesn't, I don't know what they're doing. I'm sorry if you're watching this, Riot. This is a very big oopsie, okay? This is really not good. This is not logical. If you watch any high elo games, the best enchants are the stasis enchants, the Zhonya's, the teleport enchant, and the shielding enchant, okay? The spooky ghosts never get used. Quicksilver is very rarely used. honestly. Very, very rarely. I think it's a little bit underrated, but it is really rarely used. It can definitely be good, but, you know. So, anyway, the Boogeyman, they are buffing the cost of teleport and stasis, the two most used in the game, from 1000 to 800. And they are nerfing Quicksilver from 500 to 800. It makes sense to me that Quicksilver is on the same level as Stasis. I think it's absolutely crazy strong as well. It's a little bit underrated, as I said, but Stasis is also just really powerful against the current meta champions like a Zed, like a Gragas. You know, you can dodge all these ultimates with that Stasis, so it just feels like a no-brainer. Most people just go for that. The teleport enchant is very underrated. Pro players use it all the time. Higher elo uses it all the time on top lane. I think that meta would evolve eventually, even if you leave it at 1000 gold, that everybody in the top lane would just go for it. Even some junglers who like to split push, maybe an Olaf who gets fed early game and decides, okay, I'm just going to split push, no one can 1v1 me. I'm just going to go into that Baron lane or into that Dragon lane and set my team up for a Baron or whatever. They can buy this and can be really good on them. It's very strong. However, nerfing it to 800 gold, I think this is a little bit too early. The stasis, again, makes no sense. It's already really strong. People were rushing it, second item. I love it. I love this on my Akali as well. This buffs Akali as well because I go for it every single game. What I would have liked to see is buff Spooky Ghosts, the little ghosts. No one buys them. I've never seen them. Buff Righteous Glory. I always buy it on Olaf. It's good on Garen as well. But at the end of the day, not a lot of people buy it. I think it can receive some buffs there. The little gargoyles thing, I've never seen that. So I don't even know how strong it is. Maybe it is underrated, but I have no clue because no one really buys it. And then also that shield enchantment, okay? The Locket of the Iron Solari. The issue about that is you should buff it a little bit, but you should make it not stack with your teammates anymore, because it can stack with teammates. The best strategy in this game right now is everyone gets that. But of course in solo queue not everyone is coordinated. But what you should do is you should type to your team, everyone get a Locket enchantment, and you're looking at a 1000 health shield on everybody in a team fight late game, which is mind-blowing. It just stacks with your teammates. It doesn't make any sense. They should remove that, but buff it a little bit so the support buys it. Maybe some supportive junglers buy it, and yeah, like an Amumu. But of course, Proto Belt is gonna be my weapon of choice for Amumu. I think that's amazing. The repositioning before ult. But yeah, this is pretty crazy. I don't know. This is really might be the worst change because they really hit completely the wrong spot here. They did the opposite, basically. But yeah, we also have some very interesting changes here to the Rift, which are gonna actually make a pretty big difference. Game system, experience sharing. So what they're basically doing is they realized dual lane is too strong, so they're gonna take away the power a little bit. So the shared experience is going from 150 to 140%. So if you're alone in a lane, you get 100% of the XP, right? If you are together in a lane, before this patch, you got 150% of the total XP divided to you guys, okay? So it was 75%. And they explained this explicitly here as well now. It's not gonna be 75% now, it's gonna be 70% if you're in a dual lane. So that is pretty nice because these marksmen are a little bit too strong nowadays. They should be behind in levels. That's how this dual lane works. This is how it works in PC. So this makes sense. I like this. Now this again is a little bit weird, okay? Because if you think about, let's just go through the changes first. First, they're changing smite, so you can't take it in lane anymore. I've never really seen anyone take that, so I don't know about this change. But yeah, you basically don't take smite if you're going into a Baron or in any lane. Just don't take smite because you will lose 20% of XP gained from killing minions in your lane for the first 5 minutes of the game. So if you're a jungler as well, don't steal minions from your teammates. Just farm your jungle because, especially in the first 5 minutes, because they will, you lose 20% of the total XP gained, so you're sabotaging everybody, okay? Then, jungle monsters. This is a pretty big one. They are changing the respawn time. So I like this Baron respawn time change here because if you guys noticed, you take Baron, you push, it expires, like 10 seconds later, it's already up again. Like, the Baron respawns so fast. They're putting 30 seconds more onto that respawn timer, so that's really, really good, right? That is really, really good. And they also... Respawn time. This is gone. I don't know where this is. But they also changed the Scuttle Crab respawn time, okay? So now you will have less... the Scuttle Crabs, I think it's a similar... I think it's from 150 to 180 or something like that. Or 120 to 150, something like that. Does it respawn every 2 minutes? I'm not quite sure, but there was a value here, but they removed it, or my browser is bugged. But yeah, basically you will have some more time to gank and stuff, okay? So that is pretty good here. You won't have to always go for these Scuttle Crabs, you know? You won't always have to keep in mind about controlling these Scuttle Crabs. You will have some more time to gank. You'll have some more time to have fun and kill people, okay? That's gonna be more fun. However, this also buffs Lee Sin and Amumu, which are focused on ganking. This nerfs Master Yi, this nerfs Olaf, which is fine. But yeah, this nerfs all these dueling strong. I mean, it also nerfs Lee Sin a little bit in the regard of he will have less of that 1v1 around the Scuttle Crab with the jungler, which he's really strong at the early game. But still, this is... we'll see how that progresses, but it's definitely going to make jungling a little bit more fun. It's going to make these Scuttle Crabs count more as well. You know, you can't just be like, oh, it's going to respawn soon, whatever. You can have it. You really have to just try to secure them and get better at that control. But yeah, that is it. That is it, guys. We are done with the balance changes. Let me know what you think about my little rundown here. Was it too long? Was it too short? I really want to give proper in-depth opinion. I don't want to just read them to you because you guys, let's be real, man. You can read as well, I hope at least, okay? But yeah, with that being said, I really hope you guys enjoyed this. Again, let me know what you think about these changes as well in the comments below. If you have any more questions, I will be responding to them in the comments below. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. Leave a like, subscribe, ring that notification bell to not miss any future Wild Rift content on this channel, and also Wild Rift streams. And yeah, with that being said, I will see you guys the next time. Peace out, boys. Bye-bye.